What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Questionable Podcast, the podcast where we ask questionable questions. And I got something in my throat with questionable people. I'm your host, Nathan Costello, and today with me, I have some beautiful bastards. You'd like to introduce yourself? It'll all be good.
Bastard.
I am David.
Yo, I'm Patrick.
Yeah, Phoenix again.
Envy.
Yay! How are y'all doing?
Woo! It's actually organized this time.
And you ruined it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
quickly.
That's the point.
Yeah.
And then it all died.
And then it all died. We got
Remember,
started.
everybody, make sure those Frenchies wave that white flag.
I don't understand the reference, but okay.
The French always surrender. You're gonna hear about it in your comments later. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't worry. You'll lose that cheese deal again.
There goes so last time we lost the sponsorship with fucking anything to do with Canada. Now we've lost sponsorship with France. To be honest, that's not really
Again.
just cheese. It's just cheese and
It's
wine.
all right. Canada's here, back and ready to go. We'll get.
Fucking
Podcast.
Canadian bacon, fake bacon.
Oh, so it's podcast taking down countries one pun at a time.
America, get ready.
Oh,
That's just an entire podcast in itself.
yeah,
As
that
an American,
could
I
go.
officially sponsor this podcast.
And
Who are you again?
America.
Fuck you.
The state of Florida.
Oh, why is it not?
Oh Lord, help us all.
Everyone's in Florida, it
For
seems.
some reason,
Are you Envy?
Let's
No,
keep control now.
but
Hold on.
a lot of people that I know are there.
I almost got excited.
it's gonna
Go ahead,
pull up the
Nathan.
middle. Sorry, like it just wasn't picking up the Discord window, so like on the podcast, it was just literally just like a blank. It's just like a black line going down the side of it.
So did it capture nothing that we said?
No, it's captured everything. We stream and we are live. We're live on the internet.
Oh, okay.
I just had to like sort some gubs out, and it just means like people are just gonna have to start to recognize our voices and who we are, as opposed to it like little side bit, like
Brand new.
I don't know.
Brand new podcast.
A brand new. I don't know. Like
This is a
something-
brand new one.
Well, it's not an old one, or is it?
Oh, yeah, obviously.
Where are the topics? Let's hit the topics. I'm excited.
Okay. Well, Patrick's got a good one. I wouldn't mind delving into. To be honest with you, it sounds.
Which one? The first, second, or third?
Well, the first one. I'm not going to start with the.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah. So I got this little thing about. Where did I put it? Oh yeah. This has been happening since 2017 about EU building its own army, and apparently Germany is rearming and leading the charge for that.
So we're gonna go neo-Nazi regime again, or did we?
Well, I mean, the world's a little nervous from what I've been hearing about Germany rearming about like this, because apparently every time they rearm, there's a world war.
You know what? I can't blame them. They get picked on so many times, and people don't leave them alone.
I know, right?
I mean,
So,
I can't blame them.
as you guys know, on November 13th, 2017, 23 out of the 28 European Union states signed a declaration to create what is expected to form the nucleus of a joint European army. The 5 countries that won't be taking part are Great Britain, Denmark, Ireland, Malta, and Portugal. Though Ireland previously expressed some interest in joining that.
I just
When,
I mean,
what?
It just, for me, it's just the most ridiculous. That's the whole point of the UN, innit? Like, you know, United Nations and all that. It just sounds like
Yeah, I'm gonna get into that.
it hurts my head.
Because recently, since NATO had NATO and the UN had a meeting about all this, and So Germany believes that the United States can no longer protect Europe from Russia.
No reason why to
Since
believe.
NATO is essentially headed by the United States and followed closely behind by Great Britain, both of which always, cannot always act in favor of mainland Europe's core interests, given its geological detachment. Not to mention that Great Britain has opted to leave the EU, making its influence over Europe's military interests, less apparent. Under Donald Trump, the U.S. has formally lost the so-called global leadership role that both George W. Bush and Barack Obama has already started eroding. In May of this year, NATO officials have had the so-called Trump proof the meaning.
Yeah, because the guy's a blundering idiot.
Because for his limited attention span. And Germany has openly declared that the United States is they can no longer rely on them, and is reportedly seeking to take up leadership reins following America's demise as a superpower.
Okay, we need to hold back here. We gotta go back to first off Trump proof. Is this a thing?
Trump proof.
Is this the new meme?
This is apparently a thing.
I
The new meme, boys, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I suppose if you can baby-proof stuff, you must be able to Trump-proof stuff. Just like cover everything in anti-nuke material.
Yeah.
And like just
So
block it on
it's
Twitter. Sorry.
Yeah, so NATO officials, will ensure that no one talks for more than 4 minutes to keep Donald Trump's attention. That's pretty much what it is.
I mean, I get the logic. I mean, I understand this EU army. They've tried it. It was called the League of Nations and shit like that. Where pre-World War One, I think, was the League of Nations, and then it went to something else. And then obviously the EU formed. EU formed in like 60s, 70s, whatever the fuck it was. To my knowledge, it always was part of the agenda of the EU to form an army. I mean, how it's gonna. I mean, I expect it's literally going to work like the UN. Like every country will assign some soldiers or to it, and that'll be that. But like, I'm glad Britain ain't getting involved because it means, it just means we're not gonna be dragged into the shit they want to pull into like protect against Russia and that. It's like, well, I'm not being funny. If you wanted to, make a point against Russia, you'd have done something when they started invading Ukraine and shit. So about 3 years ago, but you didn't.
Yeah.
So,
ever since the the whole vote thing, Germany has been rearming, and obviously increasing their military.
I don't understand this like rearming thing. They have an army, like, so they have an army. It's not like they I mean, if they're increasing the numbers, that's fair enough. But people seem to forget, the EU is held in Belgium. They tend to be like the guys who like throw the weight around, closely backed by Germany. But I've never liked Angela Merkel. I don't like her. She looks like a miserable bitch, to be honest with you. Not that I could say much on Theresa May's part either. She looks like a miserable cow.
Well, in all fairness, like Trump looks like a walking orange, but people still seem to vote for him.
Yeah. It's one of those. I mean, let him do it. Let's see what happens. Not much I expect. Because it's still, you still need to have the balls to be like, okay, Russia, stop, and they never did. So
yeah,
it's not really going to change much. It's all right, like growing. All it's going to start is like Russia going to be like, hang on a minute. Hey up, like what's going on here? Like why all this big army? And it's like it's literally, it'd be similar to like a fucking arms race or some shit. Like who can smash the biggest army? It's a repeat of like fucking 1914 or some shit. Just history repeating.
We could definitely sit there and wait on the Russians to see who amasses the most quantity. But if it comes down to quality, I'm pretty sure Germany's going to blow Russia out of the water. These are the same people who came up with the jet engine before any of us knew it was a thing.
Oh no, I don't. It doesn't. That. I don't dispute that. But like, as a country with a ridiculous amount of nuclear firepower, and
Wow,
that,
something happened to your mic there. That was weird.
um, I don't. I don't think there's a need for it. That's the whole, like I says, that's the whole point of NATO. That's the whole point of the UN. That's the whole point of all these stupid alliances all these alliances that we have with other countries. Why make it more complicated?
Okay, well, name the last useful thing the UN has done so far.
The UN. Well, that's what
Yeah.
I mean. Like it's it's the idea of it. The idea, then the concept of it is good, but it's the same principle stands with this EU armor. That it's all right having the power to do it and having the people to do it, but if you're not going to do anything with it, well, like if you
Well,
have,
correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the EU was originally formed, yes, to have its own army, but that's because it didn't want it to a specific country to have to be solely reliant on their military going into foreign territories, like with, say, U.S. going into Iraq and Afghanistan, and all of that just falling on them. It was to help the allies and everybody that's involved to come to a peaceful agreement with the UN forces there as a police force.
well, yeah, sounds about right. But like, what I'm saying is like, well, if you look at Afghanistan, America went in, closely followed by Britain, and then all the other troops went over. Canada, France, they all had troops over there. Germany, Ireland, they all had troops over there. It's the same thing. It's like, look, we need some help. You're gonna help? Yeah, sure. I understand like this thing with the EU army and that, but I just see it as a giant waste of money. To be honest with you,
It's a cry for independence, though, as well. Like, they can't spend the rest of their lives depending on another country to come and save them. That's never going to work. You sit there and do
Yeah,
that.
but
Who really has
well,
the power?
well, here's the thing. That's why each nation is their own power. And when they came up with the superpowers, and after World War II, America's been the top dog in that category. Everybody's been heavily reliant on. Well, there's only so much the U.S. can do.
Yeah.
But
Germany is currently, integrating armed forces with Romania and the Czech Republic right now. So Romania, this is according to foreign policy. Romania's entire military won't join the Bushvader, or however you say it, nor will the Czech armed forces become a mere German subdivision. But in the next several months, each country will integrate one brigade into the German armed forces. Romania's 81st Mechanized Brigade will join the Bund. I can't even speak German right now. Bund.
I don't think anybody.
Their army's Rapid Response Forces Division, while the Czech 4th Rapid Deployment Brigade has which has served in Afghanistan and Kosovo, and is considered the Czech army's spearhead force, will become part of the Germans' 10th Armored Division. In doing so, they'll follow in the footsteps of the two Dutch brigades, one of which has already joined the German Army Rapid Response Force Division, and the other that has integrated into the Army's 1st Armored Division. According to Carlo Massala, a professional of international politics at the University of Bundeswehr, or whatever the fuck, in Munich, the German government is showing that it's willing to proceed with European military interrogation, even if others on the continent aren't ready yet. And that's with emphasis added.
yeah.
So
I don't like the idea of like one sole country basically being like, right, Westby, like, don't like it.
yeah.
Don't like it at all.
But meanwhile, we've been supporting this whole thing by letting the U.S. lead NATO throughout it because they've pretty much taken on that same responsibility and role without officially stating it.
That's because the United States created NATO.
Yeah, and now the Germany's moving to do the same thing on their part, and everybody's throwing a fit.
Yeah. Well, it's Germany. Of course they're gonna throw a fit. They
So you're
caused
telling
2
me
world
because
wars already.
Yeah, they did, but it doesn't mean they can't recover from it. And a lot of the world wars, there's a lot of information going around that people aren't fully aware of due to the lack of education on both sides.
Yeah.
You've got a point. Like, you know,
If we
world
really
I
war-
mean,
want to
it's
be
also
honest,
Britain's fault for letting them to get out of control anyway back in 1939.
we can blame for the very first World War was a sibling rivalry. It wasn't really just countries. It was a bunch of people who wanted to settle things without fighting it themselves, and a whole bunch of people died
Mhm.
for it.
literally, World War One was caused because, like, the Kaiser II wanted to have an empire. Like his grandmother was Queen Victoria, and like he admired the British Empire, so he's like, I want one. But then realised, oh shit, every other country's got, damn, I can't have one. So like he pretty much went to Morocco, who hated the French, and he was like, he walked down the streets on a white horse, and he was like, guys, we'll help you. Germany will help you. And bear in mind, Germany was a very, very young country still at the time. It still is a young country. It's not an old, it's a mesh of loads of countries that just so happen to speak the same language. And yeah, he went to Morocco, and France were like, hang on a minute, what the fuck's this guy doing? And then they kicked him out. And then the second time he went to Morocco, he took a warship, which didn't help things. And then what pretty much started the whole thing. So there was all this build up, and then Archduke Franz Ferdinand, I believe his name was, he got assassinated, which basically meant all these alliances that all the countries have built up over the course of this time with Germany doing, wanting to get its own empire. All that tension basically meant all the countries, like, so it was Austria, Hungary, Germany, Russia, France.
The Czech Republic. Well, that didn't exist at the
Didn't
time,
exist.
but
Basically they all got pulled into a war. And then to end it quickly, the Kaiser was like, I want to, went up to Belgium and like, look, can we just sneak through your back doors pretty much and like take Paris? And they were like, no. So it was like, okay, well, we're going to do it anyway. And then because of that, we had a very, very old piece of, like, what the Kaiser called, like, just a waste piece of paper. An alliance with Belgium, which meant Britain could get involved. And we declared war. Yeah, and when you say like it's Britain's fault that World War II, no, it's not. There was the Treaty of Versailles, which, if I remember correctly, was Britain, France, and America. So like, don't like just blame that on us, because like it was faults on all part. But we couldn't afford to go to war with him. So don't know if you noticed, there was a World War One. The worst war ever. And yeah, has yet.
Not
to
only
be
that,
beaten.
but there's so much more to go with it, though. They also bankrupted the entire country, which gave the
Exactly.
Nazi Party enough power to actually take over. Had they not bankrupted them, they wouldn't have been so desperate. There was such a call for, like, you need to repay everybody for everything that you did. They put all the blame on one country, like we're just about to do to Britain, and it caused the whole complete breakdown of that country, and gave power to a very, very terrible order, which was a genius at the same time.
Yeah.
oh yeah, he was a goddamn genius. He turned that economy around like it was nothing.
Just morale.
You'd almost say he pulled a Trump. Too soon?
Oh god, here we go.
Yeah. Well, there goes the lid for that.
Anyways,
Back to the topic at hand.
yeah. So Germany was not in a position to militarily emerge as a major superpower, but it had other ideas in mind as to how to combat that particular dilemma. So, the German army needs to fill gaps in its land forces. in order to, gain political and military influence within NATO. So that's what they have been doing recently.
I mean, one of the biggest things, like, be looking at it, with the Brexit vote, it's increased the chances of it being voted in than the EU, because I think one of the biggest people to oppose that would have been Britain, and whether I don't know if you guys know this, most of Europe hates Britain. They don't like us, and because we're stubborn, and we don't go. We're like the original hipsters, and we don't particularly like being told what to do, us Brits. So, like, with the Brexit vote, Germany are like, well, hang on a minute. Like, in terms of, like, influence, we didn't really have much influence, but in terms of power within the EU, we contributed, I think it was the second largest amount next to Germany in terms of money into the EU bank.
Yeah.
Second or third, it's something stupid like that. So in terms of that, and that sort of power, we have a lot of sway, and still technically do. But as soon as we leave, they're going to be like, right, okay, let's do it. That's fair enough. Like the logic is sound. Like, I understand why, but I don't understand why you need to. If it's going to be an EU army, then the EU, like, all countries should, like, send troops into one bit like the UN, the UN.
Yeah.
And it should be controlled by the European Parliament. So every country
The problem
has a say
is
in what happens, not just Germany.
the problem with that is that you know how, like, it's gonna be like a NATO type thing, and apparently NATO has this rule that states, if there's a combat zone, no country is supposed to go in and help. It allows them to stay back. So, say if somebody needed a medical evac and it's a hot LZ, a foreign country outside, that's not the U.S., won't take action because they don't want to.
They don't take action as it is.
They don't take action right now as it is. But a good example of that is a Marine squad. Marine convoy got hit over in Afghanistan, and the closest forces to help them out were foreign NATO forces, and they refused to, come in and help
Render
take the
aid.
wounded out. Yeah, to render aid, which made 2 U.S. Military medical helicopters, Black Hawks, to come off their mission to help them out. And it pissed off
When was this again?
the United States military. Huh?
What year was this again?
This was fairly recent, within at least the last 4 to 5 years, I believe.
I mean, it's a dick move.
Yeah.
That's a dick move, but, like, it all depends on the circumstances of what's happening in the war zone itself. Like,
Yeah.
and the
France
scale of the
is actually in support of this whole. If I'm reading this correctly,
that does not
from what it
surprise me.
says,
It doesn't surprise me.
Huh?
I says it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so enter an EU army. One would almost be certainly headed by Germany, but that would encompass enough states to make it a much more formidable force, minus the negative publicity associated with Germany becoming a military power once again. Another glaring problem is that the unelected EU officials would then be in position to send Europe's troops into combat, as opposed to the so-called democratically elected institutions that allegedly have a mandate to decide whenever or not to send its residents to die overseas. One should also bear in mind that France, a keen backer of this project, retains a permanent seat at the UN Security Council, equipped with the veto power it could use on behalf of the EU-led bloc, even without the US and the UK. The force would have significant sway and power to implement its will and protect its interests. While the idea of a European army is still in its early stages, as the dynamics on a global chessboard begin to switch out of Washington's favor, this is surely one more important developments to keep an eye on.
Well, see, here's the other thing. Germany really isn't supposed to have if I remember correctly, after World War II, they were
Expanding the
only
military like they have been,
yeah, they're only allotted up to a certain amount, and then anything after could be in violation of that treaty after World War II. So,
Well,
with that being
I
said,
actually got some numbers here for you about that. So Germany's lack of positive outlook towards NATO is significant. Germany is Europe's largest economy. By 2020, it aims to spend 53% more on military equipment compared to 2016, according to a German Ministry of Defense estimate. However, though it pledged to increase the size of its armed forces to 200,000 earlier this year, which is 2017, it can't realistically emerge as a superpower on its own in the face of rising powers of Russia, China, India, and the rest of the European states. That is precisely why in February of 2017, I believe, or 2018, Germany took matters in its own hand and announced that the very integration of its armed forces with Romania and the Czech Republic, baby steps towards its very own European army. So, yeah, they're pretty much pulling a 1930s before World War II kind of thing.
here's my
Is
thing:
what it looks like.
they still have to pay how much money for the cost of World War II?
They already paid it
I
off.
don't know.
That's already been cleared.
They already paid it off, yeah. I mean, they have the largest economy right now in Europe. So, they're doing well.
Oh
Every
yeah.
time
They
we try to
only,
bankrupt
they
these
only
guys, they still
spend
do it.
maybe about 1% of their GPD on their military.
Well, yeah. These guys freaking like a lot of their
Yeah.
industry comes from manufacturing. Like,
Yep,
look at-
and they're
look at the
looking
car
to
brands
increase
they've
it to
got.
2% pretty soon, and possibly more.
Honestly, if you guys take a look at some of your recording devices, audio devices, weapons, things like that, a lot of them come from Germany.
From Germany,
Europe
yeah.
areas produce the best equipment, from audio to weaponry to sound ranging, sound acquisition. Like, it's insane how much they actually produce.
I mean, going back to France, on their seat on the UN. Yeah, the other permanent holder is the UK. So that'll be interesting.
Mhm.
I'd like to see what.
See what happens.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. But like, end of the day, when we leave Europe, that's not our problem anymore. When we leave the EU, that's not our problem anymore. So
I love how the EU wants to ban memes.
wants to ban what?
Memes.
Yeah, that will get passed. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world.
Like, what the fuck? Anyway, anybody else got a topic?
Yeah.
By all means.
Oh, now, yeah, suppose. So, have you guys heard about the all these Facebook accounts that have been hacked?
No.
Time to change passwords.
Yeah, right.
Well, apparently 50 million users have been hacked due to a security flaw. Fuck's sake.
I hope I'm not one of them. I was just on my Facebook.
Well, I feel sorry for Zuckerberg, really, at this
I'm
point.
actually checking
Because, like,
that right now.
he's the guy's having a rough time, innit? Like,
If it's not one thing, it's another one.
yeah. They've been. I mean, to be fair, they have been like if you've been effective, you've been prompted to relog. So like, if if when you've been on and like you've been scrolling and then you've come off it, like close the app, you've got to log on again, it will prompt you to re-put in your details and shit. So that hasn't happened to me. So you know, it's all right. I mean, re-looking at the information in front of my eyes, it's Europe. Fucking typical, innit? 50 million users in Europe have been affected, apparently. So that's fun. Goddamn fucking potatoes and all that jazz. I mean, that's pretty much all I had. Like, Facebook has like been hacked again. It's one of those things now where it's like stuff like this is happening. It just doesn't actually come as a shock anymore. It's like, oh, okay. And like, I'm smart in the fact that I don't have my mobile number on Facebook. I don't have my, location on Facebook. Or do I? I do. I've got very basic information, like, nothing personal.
Not as smart as you thought you were.
Why?
Because you do have your information on there.
No, I don't have my mobile number though.
Alright, but do you have pictures of where you go and drinking?
Of course I do.
Okay. How far away is that from your house?
I'm not telling you.
Bet you it's pretty close, though, right?
Depends what you mean by close though.
I
It's
bet
not
you it's
down-
in your town.
Yeah. Halifax is you've got the town centre, then you obviously got all the provinces outside of Halifax.
Okay,
Outside
you
of
have a
the town
phone book
centre.
now?
A what?
A phone book. Do you have a phone book in your town?
What, where people couldn't know?
You have phone books in your town?
We've got the yellow pages, which is like lists of companies, but I can't pick up a phone book and be like, right, I can find this person. No, we don't have those.
Okay, so you're a little less or a little more secure than expected. But as long as you have a computer, which I know you do because you're on it, you have your information. You've signed into your Facebook on a regular day basis. Your IP's out there. IPs can be tracked. And I already know to narrow it down to Halifax in the UK. I know you frequent a bar. I know you roughly what time you go around. Not because I see your pictures.
I'm just
You're
very
British, so I assume you're going to be there every night.
I'm just very happy you're in Canada.
Yeah, you're a lot less secure than people think. A lot of people think they're, perfect security everywhere they go. No one could ever figure this out. And then their
Well-
Facebook pictures have pictures of their dogs, their locations, some places they visit frequently, when they're there, what they're doing. Like, this all gives your shit away.
I realized this actually about 2 years ago when
I'm rarely on my Facebook.
When I was made admin for one of the guild websites, and as an admin, you'd actually realize how much power you have. Like, people just think, oh, well, you can block me. It's like, no, I can block you, and I can find out where you live. They're like, what? I was like, yeah, like, I know exactly where you live, and I know the area, and it's not rocket science, because I actually did it to there was a guy who screwed us over, and he lived in England, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna fucking mess with this bastard, and well, I'm not gonna actually say what I did. I just realised we're live and this is going on the internet. So, but like, just tormenting, really, not pleasant, because he just was a dick and was not a nice person. So I kind of threw back the I gave him some of his own medicine. But yeah, no, I forgot about IP addresses and shit like that. Goddamn Facebook, social media. It's a brilliant tool, but it's fucking hell. People are just dicks with it. Absolute dicks. In other news, apparently a lot of US voting machines have flaws for your midterms and all that.
What do you mean by flaws? What kind of flaws?
Well, I mean, the scary thing is hackers have exposed staggering voting machine flaws. So, like, people have actually gone in, hacked into it and been like, yeah, guys, by the way, Like in the UK, we still don't have electronic voting. We do it on a ballot slip. You know, and this is one of the reasons why. Although they've not actually clearly and obviously they've not stated what the flaws are. Something to do with the hardware and the software it uses. But it's by the looks of it, it's a cybersecurity flaw that was reported over a decade ago that still hasn't been fixed.
God damn.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of worrying stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna say what your guys. Obviously, I don't use electronic voting systems. You guys do, which is why I brought it up.
I mean, what we use here is a scanner. Over where I live, like we put everything down on paper and then it scans into the system.
That's fair enough.
Well, you should go back to the old school system. Let's just have a little taped up thing and go look at it that way.
Well, like we literally like tick a box on our ballot papers and that's it. Like who we're voting for, tick, put it in a box, and then it gets counted by people. So like it's very old-fashioned way.
I'd hate to have that job.
Yeah. No, I've watched it because why I put myself through it, I don't know. But on like the votes and stuff, I watch it through the night, and like these guys count to like stupid o'clock in the morning, like all night. Like voting shuts at 10. So they've got roughly like 10 hours to count like 70 odd million ballot papers. And find out who wins the election and that. So yeah.
Must be a high paying job.
Doubtful. It's done like what you needed like once a year, like once every 4 years. So it'd be like invigilators for exams type thing. I couldn't do it. I'd go insane. I'd be too tempted to be like, like there'd be a devil on my shoulder. Like,
and this is why I will never trust him with anything for the GJO.
like,
Oh boy.
I mean, to be fair, I'm clearly not that bad. Like, I've run a bookies quite well for a year, so.
Yeah, so you know exactly what to do to not get caught. See, he's admitting it.
No, I haven't admitted. What have I admitted?
Anyway, so I'm gonna change the topic here over to Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
God.
So DICE has recently released a new patch. Not really patch, it's a whole update, overhauling the entire, how squads are put together and whatnot.
So what, they're gonna let you play with your buddies for the first time in life? It's almost like
Yeah.
every other game for how long?
Yeah, I know, right?
I played the.
The update does not work. It's funny because it doesn't put you in a squad with your friends at all. It puts you with random people. If you do certain things, there are bugs. It has made a large amount of the Xbox One community not able to play the game due to connection errors. It's a hot mess.
So like, no.
It's almost like DICE produced it.
Yeah, I know. Like.
This is a good company. Don't get me wrong. It's EA that's the problem.
Well, no. How? I mean, I understand like EA are dicks, but if DICE is the one who produced the patch, then it's not EA's fault. And considering DICE, you know, are the guys who made
I'm
the game.
talking about influence in general. I'm not talking about the patch right then and there, but with that statement. But yeah, Dice did put out the patch, and well, the update, the 2 GB, and
I mean,
not
I
work.
played the beta for Battlefront 2 when it came out the other year, and to be honest with you, they've ruined it for me. They've just fucking.
Oh,
ruined it.
it's a lot better game now. They
Why
changed
didn't
it.
they just stick with what they had originally? Like the original Battlefronts all worked. Everybody loved them. Conquest mode.
Oh, you meant the Pandemic Studios one?
Yeah, like that system worked. Why go and create something new and cancerous that doesn't work? Like using a card to
It's
switch weapons.
because it's EA.
They're like
They're just
reinvent the
trying
wheel,
to,
guys. Let's make it
yeah,
square. Oh
pretty
boy.
much.
Pretty much.
But
It's
at the same time, you got to give them props where it's due. I mean, hell, look at this, some of the stuff that you can do in Battlefront 2 that you could not do in frickin' the original Battlefronts.
So far, the only thing I can do in the old one that I couldn't do in the new one is die at spawn.
Well, Galactic Assault, Starfighter Assault. I actually like those. Those are my favorite modes.
Yeah, but those didn't need to exist
Ewok
before because you
Hunt.
could literally play that at the start of the game. You'd spawn in as an individual soldier, hop into an aircraft, and fly to your spaceship that worked, destroy other ships like a Galactic or Spatial Assault, and then land on their
Yeah.
ships later and cause mass havoc on the ground.
Yeah.
So all those things were available before
In,
they came out with it. All they did was re-release to the point where you can only do one or the other. They didn't allow
in
you
the
to have a combo.
PSP version of Star Wars Battlefront, not 1 or 2, but Elite Squadron. It followed the story plot of Star Wars Battlefront 3. It was pretty much remained. I'm sorry, made out of the carcass of Battlefront 3 when that was canceled. Campaign multiplayer where you can go from space to ground and whatnot. It was amazing for a handheld game.
I mean, it's just one of those games that everyone was hyped up about because we're like, they finally fixed the problem. Like they've listened to us, and then they didn't. They were like, well, we've added a load more stuff and a single player. Like when the first Battlefront came up, by the way, there's no single player mode. Are you having a fucking laugh?
Oh yeah.
Basic stuff like that. It's like, well, we've added this. It's like, yeah, but you make it sound like you've just done a huge achievement. It's like, no, you haven't. You've done what every other normal game studio in the world, has done.
Mm-hmm.
Even strategy
And then
games.
Battlefront 2 rolls around and it says, "Oh, you're going to have a campaign in the eyes of an Imperial trooper."
I mean,
That was false advertising. Because you're only an Imperial Special Forces trooper for 3 fucking missions.
I wouldn't know. I haven't played it. It's the thing is, the game, they've set themselves up for such low standards with me now. I just can't be arsed with it. It's one of those, like, for me, like, a game like that, it just shouldn't be, games, there are certain games like Call of Duty or FIFA or Madden, they go out of date, because they're released every year. But a game like Battlefront 2, which isn't released every year, like, it shouldn't go out of date, like, it shouldn't,
Field.
like,
That's
die.
another one that's not released every year.
It shouldn't die. But, like,
It's a game that they didn't need to reinvent. That's all it
Yeah.
is, and they did something that was unnecessary.
But hey ho, like, I mean, the bad thing is like they probably won't learn, and then it's like it's a little too late, I think, for them. Like, don't get me wrong, the graphics are amazing, the sounds are amazing, everything like that, and the atmosphere, I suppose, it captures is good, but in terms of it, just sometimes it feels like it's just a reskin of Battlefield, which is pretty much what it is. It's just a reskin with different sounds, and a man with a giant light pole thing that they can zoom, 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 you know, every now and again. That's pretty much what it is. It just baffles the mind. It really does. Why you oh, fuck knows. You have a formula that works. Why change it? Why change it? You know, and then you know, people wonder why games like GTA or Red Dead Redemption, like games like that, when they brought out, like why they make so much money, why GTA 5 is such a record-breaking game, because they've got a formula, they know it works, so they've stick to it. Don't change something that's not. Don't try to fix something that's not broke. You know, and that's what they've gone and done. Just fucked it up. They fucked it up from day dot.
Yep.
It's a bad habit of doing that. They do it with a lot of games. Like even Battlefield, the originals, when they started to make the new ones, they started to try to reinvent things. There's an old system that worked.
Yep.
Phoenix?
Anyone else have a topic?
Hang on, I think Phoenix were talking.
No, I was just mentioning that they just continue to remake the same old thing over and over again. Like if they continue to break it, there's no point. Like Battlefield original version was beautiful when it came out for the computer, had over 64 players, already capable of being done, and then they started to re-release the game again, and they got rid of so many mechanics that were already present. Vehicle classes. There were more than 7 or 8 classes in the original one. Now we're down to 4, and they're all pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, also look at all the remakes on TV. I mean, come on. Like CBS has restarted Murphy Brown. You know, they've restarted Magnum PI.
What?
You know, yeah, there's a new Magnum PI out
There's a
now.
new one out.
MacGyver.
Look, one thing works for TVs, one thing doesn't work for them. They're not the same kind of platform. They're not selling to the
Not necessarily. I mean, you got to look at it this way. You know, what we find to our interests, such as video games, one could say the same about TV shows. You know, some people that have seen the original MacGyver or the original Magnum PI, and comparing that to this new one or this remake that they've done on them. I mean, I've seen both, old and new on both, and I'm not thrilled with these new or these so-called new remakes of these shows. I mean, it's to me it doesn't a disservice.
Great. So if you're gonna let something like that die, that's like looking at the Republic Commandos. Trying to remake that game a second time over, and not following the arc at all. Like that's a game that I'm sorry, you don't remake the game. It's done. It had its series. If you want to continue it, by all means, please do continue. But don't remake the old classic and make a Frankenstein out of it. But if you're going to, for the love of God, follow the platforms and programs that worked originally. Don't take away shit that made sense that people really liked. Like if you asked in the comments, I guarantee you people said Conquest is awesome. I can't imagine anybody playing Battlefront 2 and not liking the Conquest mode. It sucked you couldn't lay down anymore or go prone. But, you know, I could live with losing prone for Conquest. And then here they come with, oh, yeah, you can go prone, stand, and jump, but you pretty much do 360 no-scopes like Call of Duty, and no one really likes to play because it's all like third person or nothing at all. And then you have to flip a card to see if you get the thing or not. There's no reload. There's no coming out with a sniper rifle class. It's just all assault rifles. And if you're lucky, you have a card that doesn't let you shoot once for every fucking minute and a half. That was garbage. They fixed
Star
it
Wars
slightly.
Battlefront 2 is coming out with a Conquest-styled game mode.
Oh my god, like it's brand new, right? It wasn't there, oh no, fucking like 5-10 years ago.
I know, right?
You guys are so geniuses. Thank you for coming up with something that already existed and not releasing it early.
Anyway, what the hell is this I hear about bloody the FA selling Wembley Stadium? Like, what?
Yeah, Sean Khan is actually, for all those who don't follow the NFL, the National Football League,
He owns Jacksonville
the
Jaguars.
yes, he owns Jacksonville Jaguars. He is looking to buy Wembley as a foothold for the Jacksonville Jaguars because the National Football League's been going to London, putting on American football, and Jacksonville has been over to London multiple times. Same with a couple of the other teams. And they're also looking to put, these other teams, that is, are looking to put a foothold in London. So Sean Khan is looking to buy the stadium so it could be a, as it's put in the article, a home away from home, while whenever Jacksonville has a game over there in London, they have a place to go and call their own, and so on and so forth. So it's looking like London is becoming a big eye catch for all these football team owners.
It's good that I mean, I can tell you now, I'm not a huge soccer fan, but that pisses me off.
Well, and from the article that I read, Nathan, you know, he's going to keep the name the same. He's not going to change anything. It's going to be the London home for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm Fulham Football Club.
So, you know, it's not like the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to move to London and be called the London Jaguars or the Wimbledon Jaguars.
Obviously, no.
Yeah, no.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like that is you know it's the national stadium of England. Like I'm fortunate enough I've been to Wembley, and if the guy wants a stadium, fucking build one. Like
he has.
Like we you know we sold the Olympic Arena to fucking West Ham United. It's like, why? Just use it as a sporting event place for, you know, the athletics and stuff. Why sell it to a football club? Well, a soccer club. Like, and it's the same principle with Wembley.
Right.
Wembley is a jewel. Like, it's I don't know how to put it.
If I also remember correctly, Khan owns the Jacksonville soccer team as well.
I mean, you know, and I know the NFL, you know, NFL teams have been coming up at Wembley and playing, and I've noticed it a lot more over the past few years. That's fair enough. Just keep the agreement between the NFL and the NFL. Why does this guy have to get involved? Like, go away.
He actually does own a soccer team.
He does. He owns Fulham.
Yeah, Fulham FC.
Yeah, which is based in London. So, like,
that's probably the reason why he's trying to buy Wembley.
It just doesn't make any sense. Fulham aren't even in the Premier League. They don't need the biggest stadium in the country because I bet they probably don't even fill their own stadium. That's my point. Like, it just seems like a really illogical move, bar the fact that he'll have a place to put his NFL club. Like, it. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's still got a lot, you know, still all that's happened is the FA have they've approved in principle, you know, the sale, so it's still got to go past the chair and the ball.
Yeah,
and all that shit.
and this article that I'm just now looking at was posted today at 4:03 EDT. It says the board of the English Football Association has approved the sale moving forward, although there's at least one more hurdle to clear when the sale goes before the Football Association Council.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, like, a soccer player, a guy called Gary Neville, big deal over here. He used to play for Manchester United. I was reading through it. He went to Parliament. He tried going to the government. He's like trying to be like, this is ridiculous. It's, you know, it's the grassroots of soccer over here. Like, it's, you know, bear in mind we invented the sport, so it's like to sell. It's just ridiculous. Like, in print, like in logic, it makes perfect sense. But like in terms of pride in that and for your country, it's just stupid. Like, I mean, the thing is, the guy's gonna buy the stadium, right? But there are clauses in it. He can't have advertising on it. You know, he has to invest £600 million into the soccer community and community facilities. You know,
I mean, his net worth is $7.5 billion as of this year.
no, that's fair enough. But like, reading into it, like the FA are gonna put so many restrictions on him anyway if he buys it. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
so I don't know. It's a tough one because, like I says, it's in terms of like logic and more use for the stadium, it makes perfect sense. But when
Sorry to jump off topic and cutting you off. That song Seagulls that Envy likes to listen to.
Yeah.
Inside Edition just had a video clip of a kid trying to eat a sandwich on the beach in seagulls. Kid being chased by the seagulls, pecking him in the head. Give me that sandwich.
So like, I've forgotten what I was saying. I've lost track. But like, in terms of like pride and that for like our country, it's just stupid. Like, who wants you want to go to Wembley, the home of soccer and that in the country, and when the FA Cup final is held there, which is it's a huge tournament over it. It means it's a tournament where every single soccer club in the country, no matter how small, can get involved, and has the opportunity to win it. Kind of like, well, yeah, no, that's a fact. So like when you go to Wembley, it's like fucking hell. We got to Wembley. If Fulham start using it, it's going to be like, well, we got to Fulham. We got to Fulham Stadium. It doesn't quite have the same ring, That's my. And plus, Wembley's in Wembley. It's not Fulham. Like, it's a pride thing. That's what it is. It's a pride thing, really. So yeah, I had to get all that off my chest, really, because
You feel better now?
I feel better. Yeah.
Cool.
Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about?
Yeah. Recently, there has been a trend going on Twitter and whatnot. It originated from Nintendo. For the recent game. So apparently, within this video, a Toadette character jumps up, hits this box, and gets a crown and turns into Princess Peach. Well, this has spawned a bunch of memes of Bowser with this crown and turning into Bowsette. Now, to give you an idea of what I mean by Bowsette, let me. Here we go. I'm going to post this in topic ideas. It spawned a bunch of Bowsette fan art and whatnot, and it's just been blowing up over the course of the weeks. I mean, if you actually search it, there's so much stuff. And it all started with this one meme that I am going to post right now. It all started with this.
I mean, I don't understand.
What's wrong? Maybe Bowser was a woman this whole time.
Possibly. Who knows?
No, he's. That's not what I meant. But you should see the stuff it has spawned. It's amazing. All these memes coming out, and it's just great.
I say more power to him. If he wants to become a she, you know what? Bowser's gone through enough shit.
Right? Here's another one.
I can't even.
No, it's a gay.
It looks like a punk version of the princess anyway, so what does it matter?
Yeah.
It hurts my head. I don't. I mean, yeah, whatever. If people, if people like drawing that, and people like,
So that's what's been going on recently.
like,
It's
fair
just,
enough.
I opened up my Twitter and it was like a goddamn truck coming through a wall.
Yeah, I'm not stuff like. I mean, honestly, like, stuff like that really doesn't like interest me. So I'm just like, I never pick up on stuff like that and memes. And I'm too old for my age, really, to be honest with you.
Memes are like,
Yeah.
just embrace it.
It's just been blowing up in the anime community.
So, have you guys been following this Brett Kavanaugh, whatever his fucking name is?
Nope.
No, nobody. It's something to do with like Supreme Court over in the States, and
Yeah, I mean, I know about what's going on. It's just, honestly, in my opinion, it's just a whole bunch of bullshit. But sexual assault, people crying sexual assault, and it's just a growing trend. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a big deal, but when you have an avalanche come down like it is on Kavanaugh right now, originally just one person, now you're looking at 20 people making these accusations. Come on, something
Yeah.
doesn't smell right.
I'm just saying, have you ever heard of the bandwagon? Because apparently people are on it nowadays.
No, they're not just on it, man. They're running to catch up with this thing and pushing this motherfucker.
it's one of those things, and it's like it happened how long, like 30 odd year ago, and it's just like well,
36.
Yeah, so why the fuck didn't you say up back then?
And not to mention, they were both teenagers. They were both drinking. They were at a party. Come on.
I mean,
They're going to do
what frustrates me the most is the fact that it's like, hang on a minute, okay, it's like, hypothetically, she's been raped, because we don't know, it's not been, it's not been proven.
Well, that's not her claim, but
Well, it was something along
groping.
Sexual assault in it. And,
Hold on, before you continue
yes.
this, I'm gonna step out of this one. I'm gonna head off. I got some other things to attend to. It's been a pleasure, boys. Call me in the next one.
Will do. Thanks for joining, Phoenix.
Out.
Yeah, like, sexual assault, blah 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 blah, and it's like, so hang on a minute. Was his, gone through his career as a judge, and a well-decorated judge at that, you've allowed it to slide. But the minute he gets into the limelight, to go for Supreme Court,
Exactly.
which is a judge, is pretty fucking
High up there. Final say,
Yeah,
pretty
exactly.
much.
Now you want to say something, it's like, well, hang on a minute. What?
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, it's just one of those things where, if you're looking at it politically, some say that, oh, well, the Democrats are just steaming this through. They're the ones who's edging this on, encouraging these people to go ahead and say that he did this to disqualify him. because the Republicans want him in because he's our knuckleheaded goofball president's choice. But if he's highly decorated, he's overall a good person, depending on your perspective of the man. And then next thing you know, you have one person sits there and says, "Oh well, he sexually assaulted me." A week later, there's 10. Something is going on with
Yeah,
this picture.
Like,
So,
what happened to innocent until proven guilty? Do you know what I mean?
and that was one of his statements when they started this whole fucked up thing. Is our judicial system is you're innocent until proven guilty. You have already made up your minds that I'm guilty before you get all the facts.
Yeah. It's becoming not just in politics or and not just in the US, but a lot more in the Western world. It's becoming more of a trend that the social media, social justice warriors, and people like that, they're going to decide if you're innocent or guilty, not the law. It's like, well, hang on a minute. Like, I don't think people seem to realise the effect it has on people. Like that sort of accusation, that sort of accusation of a person and what it does to their career. Because at that point, their name is stained. No matter what's said, their name is stained, and they will be associated with that accusation. Which in terms like. Hopefully it does for the if this is wrong and and she's lied, I hope to God he sues the fuck out of her for damages.
Yeah.
Because like it's not on, and what annoys me the most, like it's always like, I mean, we don't know that, like, he could be guilty, like, but like. It's just it's almost as bad as doing the actual thing. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, why waste the time? Why waste the resources? Why just to lie? Just to have your 5 minutes of fame on TV. It makes me look. Well, yeah, that's.
And it's funny because Kavanaugh's not the first one to go under fire for this kind of shit.
Oh no, of course it's not. Trump has.
Yep. Trump has, Kavanaugh. Hell, I think every other Republican that's either in Senate, House of Representatives, or in office, period. I mean, I'm not saying it's just Republicans. I mean, hell, look at Bill Clinton, and his famous remark, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman." I mean, it's just, this has gotten out of hand.
Yeah, it's a joke, really.
It really is.
It's.
If I could be excused, I'm gonna go have a smoke.
Well, to be honest, unless everyone's got anything else they want to talk about, I'm ready to wrap this up.
Okay.
Unless anybody else has anything else they'd like
Cuttlefish.
to say.
Cuttlefish. Can't forget our dear friend, the cuttlefish.
What about
Cuttlefish?
And
I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing anymore.
She's not here.
Nathan, if you did not catch that reference,
I did not get the reference at all.
Oh, you need to watch Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, I've seen Pirates of the Caribbean. I just don't get it.
Pirates of the Caribbean, the very first movie, was accidentally genius.
I feel like
I mean,
embarrassing myself live on the internet right now.
Yeah.
By not getting said
Um,
reference.
War Council and at World's End. They're like, anybody have anything else to say? Or Jack, what's your vote? And Jack goes into this discussion about the cuttlefish, trying to postpone the whole going to war.
I need to rewatch that film then.
Oh yeah,
You want me to do the outro?
What?
I said, you want me to do the outro?
What outro? Now I'm concerned. Go on.
Of ending the stream.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay. Well, that is it for today, everybody. Obviously, this one had a more serious tone to it. Tune in next time to hear some more next week, 6 o'clock.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much. Hasta luego.